woman detaches, it's often misunderstood. People might think she's cold, uninterested, or playing games. But true detachment isn't about being heartless or indifferent, it's about power. Quiet, grounded, unshakable power. It's the kind of strength that doesn't raise its voice to be heard. It just is. See, when a woman chooses to detach, she's not saying, "I don't care." She's saying, "I care about myself first." And that, right there, is what shifts everything. Because when you put your peace, your mind, your dignity before someone else's chaos, people notice, especially men. Men are wired to sense energy, and when a woman is detached, he feels something different. She's not reaching, she's not chasing, she's not trying to be chosen. She's already chosen by herself. You see, there's a big difference between reacting and responding. When a woman is reactive, always emotional, always needing answers, she's giving away her power. But when she's detached, she becomes deliberate. She no longer feeds into every mood swing, every delay in a text, every missed call. She doesn't live in emotional debt, waiting for a man to deposit his attention. She has her own currency, her presence, her energy, her time, and she doesn't hand it out like coupons. Men feel that. It's like walking into a room and sensing a calm presence. She's not loud, she's not flaunting, but she's unbothered, and that makes him bothered. That makes him wonder, why isn't she affected? Why doesn't she need me the way others have? What does she know that I don't? That curiosity grows into respect, and that respect, that's where attraction deepens. Not the surface-level kind that fades when the excitement wears off, but the kind that lingers, even in silence. Because he starts to realize this woman, she's rooted. She won't fall just because someone steps away. She's not moved by breadcrumbs or broken promises. She knows her worth, and more importantly, she protects it. It's not that she doesn't have feelings, she does, but she has boundaries too. She knows when her energy is being drained. She knows when her kindness is being mistaken for weakness. And when that line is crossed, she pulls back not to punish, but to preserve. That's real strength, the kind that says, "I'd rather be alone in peace than together in confusion." And look, not every man will be drawn to that. Some want easy access, constant reassurance, someone they can emotionally outsource their mess to. But the men who are worth a damn, the men who have done some work, they recognize that kind of detachment. They respect it, and they rise to meet it. Because here's the truth: attachment rooted in fear says, "Don't leave me." But detachment rooted in strength says, "I'll be good either way." And that energy, that's magnetic. That's what flips the script. That's what makes a man sit up, pay attention, and say, "Who is this woman? And how do I become worthy of her focus?" So don't confuse detachment with distance. It's not about shutting people out. It's about standing tall even when they walk away. It's about knowing you don't chase what's meant for you, and you don't beg what's not. When a woman masters that, she doesn't just attract, she commands, and that kind of presence is unforgettable. There's something undeniably powerful about a woman who doesn't reveal everything. She's not hiding, she's just not broadcasting. She's not playing games, she simply values her privacy, her depth, her energy, and that mystery, that quiet, intentional space between who she is and what the world sees. That's magnetic. It's what makes people lean in, curious, captivated, wondering what's beneath the surface. See, we live in a world where oversharing is normal, where people post their every move, thought, and feeling for the world to see. But when a woman moves differently, when she's selective about what she shares, when she carries herself with a quiet confidence, she stands out. And men notice, not because she's the loudest in the room, but because she's the most centered. She gives just enough to spark interest, but not so much that there's no room left for discovery. Men are natural pursuers. They're wired to chase what feels valuable, rare, and just out of reach. And mystery feeds that instinct. It's not manipulation, it's nature. When a woman keeps a part of herself sacred, when she doesn't feel the need to explain or overexpose, it creates space for a man to wonder. Wonder who she is, what she thinks about, what she dreams of, what makes her laugh, what she looks like when she's unfiltered, unguarded, real. That wonder turns into intrigue, that intrigue turns into focus. But the mystery isn't just about what she keeps private. It's about how she carries herself. She's not trying to prove her worth, she knows it. She's not desperate to be liked, she values alignment over approval. And because she's not available to everyone, because her time, her attention, her presence is earned, she becomes someone he wants to work for. She becomes unforgettable, not because she gave too much, but because she gave just enough to leave an imprint. Think about it. When something is rare, you pay closer attention. You protect it. You don't take it for granted. And that's how men respond to a woman who holds something back, not out of fear, but out of self-respect. She's not withholding affection, she just doesn't hand it out like a discount. She's not afraid of intimacy, she just understands that real connection takes time, effort, consistency. She makes him earn access, not because she's difficult, but because she's discerning. And the irony, the more she leaves to the imagination, the more a man wants to know. He starts listening closer, watching more carefully, picking up on the little things, how she moves, how she speaks, how she reacts. And in that process he becomes invested, not because she forced his attention, but because she inspired his curiosity. And once a man is curious in a meaningful way, once he starts to wonder who she really is, he begins to see her as more than an option, he starts to see her as a mystery worth solving. But here's the twist. She's not waiting to be discovered. She's living, fully, authentically. She's busy building her life, loving her solitude, pouring into her purpose. She's not putting on a mask or playing hard to get. She's just grounded in who she is, and that centered presence radiates a kind of power that doesn't need words to be felt. Mystery isn't about silence, it's about selectivity. It's about being so confident in your own value that you don't need to overshare to be seen. And the woman who embodies that, she doesn't chase attention. She draws it in quietly, steadily, completely, without ever needing to raise her voice. That's the kind of energy that doesn't just attract, it haunts. There's something deeply compelling about a woman who puts herself first, not in a selfish way, but in a grounded, intentional, unapologetic way. A woman who moves through life with her priorities in order, who doesn't abandon herself to be liked, who doesn't shrink to fit someone else's comfort. That kind of energy speaks before she does. It commands respect, not by force, but by presence, and men feel that. They may not always understand it right away, but they feel it, and they are drawn to it. When a woman prioritizes herself, she sends a clear message. I am not available for anything that costs me my peace, my growth, or my integrity. That kind of clarity is rare. And in a world that often teaches women to bend, to please, to accommodate, a woman who chooses to center herself becomes a disruption, the kind men don't forget. See, self-priority is not about neglecting others. It's about not abandoning yourself. It means having the discipline to say no when something doesn't serve you. It means showing up for your goals, your healing, your joy, whether or not anyone claps for it. It's waking up with a purpose that isn't tied to who texts you back, who validates you, or who chooses you. You've already chosen yourself, and everything else is a bonus, not a lifeline. Men are naturally drawn to women who operate from that place. A woman who's focused on her life doesn't hover. She doesn't lose herself in someone else's potential. She's not watching the phone. She's not rearranging her whole schedule for someone who can't even confirm plans. She's moving, she's creating, She's living, and that movement, that forward motion, that's attractive, because it shows she's not waiting to be saved, she's saving herself. There's a quiet confidence in a woman who knows her time is valuable. She's not rude, but she's not overly accommodating. She's kind, but she has limits. She loves hard, but she doesn't beg. And when she walks into a room, she brings all of that with her, not in arrogance, but in assurance. She's not seeking attention. She's choosing alignment, and that energy is felt before a single word leaves her mouth. The truth is, when you prioritize yourself, you change the way people treat you. You teach them how to value you, because they see how you value you. And for men, especially those who are used to being the center of attention, the one chased, the one catered to a woman who doesn't fold, who doesn't adjust herself just to fit into his world, becomes unforgettable. She becomes the one who got his respect before she got his affection, and that's the difference. When a woman leads with self-priority, she's not playing hard to get. She is hard to get because she's not easy to impress. She's not swayed by empty promises or surface-level charm. She knows what she wants, what she needs, and what she deserves, and she's willing to wait or walk if it's not that. There's power in that. Real power, the kind that doesn't need to be loud, the kind that builds a life so full, so vibrant, so rich, that no man becomes the center of her universe, because she's already the center of her own. And when a man sees that, truly sees it, he has two choices: rise to meet her, or watch her rise without him. Either way, she's not stopping, because she knows the truth. When you put yourself first, everything else that's meant for you will meet you, not distract you, not derail you, not drain you, but match you. And that kind of alignment, that only happens when you remember self. Priority isn't selfish, it's power. Scarcity isn't about pretending to be busy or unavailable. It's about knowing your worth so deeply that you're selective with your time, energy, and presence. It's about understanding that what is rare is respected, and what is always available is often taken for granted. A woman who moves with this understanding doesn't need to convince anyone of her value. Her absence teaches what her presence once gave. When something is easily accessible, people stop paying attention to it. That's human nature. We chase what feels exclusive, what challenges us, what carries a sense of purpose and boundaries. And when a woman embraces that principle, when she operates from a place of self-control rather than desperation, she immediately stands apart. She becomes a presence that people notice, not just because she's hard to reach, but because when she's there, she's fully there. But she doesn't stay where she's not respected. She doesn't pour into what doesn't pour back. And that scarcity, that limited availability, it makes men pause, it makes them wonder, it makes them value. You see, when a woman is everywhere, constantly accessible, emotionally wide open to anyone who shows a little interest, she gets used, not always intentionally, but gradually. Her presence becomes routine, expected. There's no urgency, no appreciation, but when she pulls back, when she gives less, not out of pettiness, but from alignment, the entire dynamic shifts. People lean in more when you lean out. That's not a game. That's psychology. Scarcity creates reflection. A man starts to question himself. Why did she stop calling? Why isn't she texting back instantly like before? Did I do something wrong? Did I not show up enough? That distance creates clarity. He starts to realize the value of what he had, often because it's no longer right in front of him. And the woman, she's not waiting by the phone. She's not measuring her worth by his response. She's busy, not faking busy, but actually building, growing, healing, elevating. And in that gap, he feels the shift. He feels what it's like to miss her. And that's where respect is born, in the silence, in the absence. in the realization that she wasn't ordinary, that she wasn't just another woman hoping to be chosen. She was and is a woman who chooses herself first and requires others to bring the same energy if they want to stay in her space. It's not cold. It's clear. It's not punishment. It's protection. When you value something, you don't let everyone have it. You don't let people come and go as they please. You set the standard. You raise the bar. And when a woman embodies that, her presence becomes a privilege, not a guarantee. And that kind of energy, it creates a lasting impression. A woman who understands the power of scarcity doesn't chase. She invites. She doesn't over-explain. She lets her absence speak. And the ones who see her value, they'll step up. They'll adjust. They'll pursue not because they are afraid of losing her, but because they finally understand what they had in front of them. The truth is, value increases when demand exceeds supply. And in relationships, the same principle holds. A woman who gives too much, too soon, too often, without receiving the same in return, eventually becomes invisible. But a woman who gives from a place of strength, who knows when to give and when to step back, who protects her energy like gold, she becomes unforgettable, not because she made herself scarce for attention, but because she made herself scarce for peace, for standards, for self-respect. And that kind of scarcity, that creates real value, the kind that can't be duplicated, imitated, or replaced. There's a certain calm, steady power in a woman who doesn't rely on others to regulate how she feels. A woman who can stand alone emotionally without needing constant reassurance or attention radiates something rare in today's world: emotional independence. She doesn't crumble when someone disappoints her. She doesn't beg for love, chase after validation, or lose herself in someone else's chaos. She knows how to return to herself, to center her emotions, and to keep her peace intact, and that quality is deeply attractive. We're used to seeing people who attach quickly, who invest everything too soon, who need constant affirmation to feel seen or secure. But when a woman doesn't operate from that place, when she can feel something deeply without becoming consumed by it, she's a different experience. She doesn't rely on drama to feel connected. She doesn't create problems just to feel intensity. She understands that calm is not boring, it's mature, and that maturity, that balance, draws in a different kind of man. A man who respects depth, not dependency. Men can sense the difference. Emotional independence isn't about being distant or cold. It's about being whole. It's about showing up in a relationship as two complete people, not one trying to fill a void with the other. And when a woman carries herself that way, she becomes someone he wants to build with, not someone he feels he has to rescue or manage. This kind of woman doesn't play emotional games. If she's upset, she speaks with clarity, not chaos. If she's unsure, she asks. She doesn't assume, attack, or withdraw to punish. She gives space when it's needed, and she takes space without guilt. She knows that being emotionally independent doesn't mean being emotionless. It means owning her feelings, processing them internally, and responding from a place of groundedness rather than reaction. That kind of presence is incredibly rare, and anything rare becomes valuable, because most people are out here trying to complete themselves through someone else. But a woman who's done her inner work, who knows who she is and what she brings to the table, she's not out here trying to be everything to everyone. She's whole with or without a relationship. That alone makes her stand out. Emotional independence also changes the dynamic of power in relationships. She's not waiting for someone to pick her. She's doing the choosing. She's not afraid to walk away if something feels off, not because she's hardened, but because she trusts herself. She trusts that she doesn't have to tolerate inconsistency just to feel loved. That she doesn't need chaos to feel wanted. that she doesn't need someone else's approval to validate her path. And here's the kicker: because she doesn't need anyone, her love becomes even more meaningful. When she chooses to share her life, her time, her heart, it's intentional. It's not rooted in fear of being alone. It's not a reaction to loneliness. It's a gift, not a demand. And that's what makes men take notice. That's what makes them invest, because they know she's not depending on them emotionally, she's inviting them in. That's a subtle but powerful difference. People who are whole attract other people who are ready. And a woman with emotional independence doesn't just attract, she inspires. She calls others to rise to her level, to grow, to stabilize, to take responsibility for their own emotions too. In a world full of noise, dependency, and constant emotional outsourcing, she becomes the calm, the constant, the rare presence. And rare is unforgettable. Rare is respected. Rare is what you protect, because once you experience it, you realize how empty everything else was. Emotional independence isn't loud. It doesn't beg to be seen, but when you witness it, you feel it. And when a man feels that kind of energy, he knows this isn't just another woman. This is a standard. There's something captivating about a woman who is confident without trying to control. She doesn't need to dictate, dominate, or direct every situation to feel powerful. Her confidence is rooted, not performative. She knows who she is, what she brings, and what she deserves, and she doesn't have to prove it. She allows life and people to reveal themselves without forcing outcomes. That's strength most don't understand. Control often comes from fear of being hurt, of being abandoned, of not being enough. But a confident woman has faced those fears. She's done the work. She no longer needs to micromanage love or manipulate connection. She gives space. She allows people to be who they are, and from that place of calm observation, she chooses what aligns and what doesn't. That's power without pressure. Men feel this. A woman who doesn't try to mold him, fix him, or constantly correct him creates an environment of respect. Not because she's passive, but because she's peaceful. She leads with her energy, not her ego, and if something isn't right, she won't force it, she'll simply leave it. This balance of inner certainty without external control is rare. It makes her irresistible, not because she's hard to get, but because she's hard to shake. She's not moved by every shift in someone's behavior. She's not chasing consistency, she is consistency. And when a woman carries that kind of confidence, she becomes a mirror. You either rise to meet her energy or fall away. She doesn't push, she doesn't pull, she simply stands. And in that stillness, in that quiet self-trust, she becomes unforgettable. Because true confidence doesn't control, it simply allows. And what stays in that space? It's real.